Hi, Earth Science lovelies. It's Miss Color again. I'm going to talk about the Atmosphere Study Guide. Okay, I'm not going to go over every single question on the first part of this, but if you have individual questions about any of the ones that I have not covered, all you have to do is let me know, okay? And we'll talk. So make sure you know the atmosphere layers, and a lot of that talks about here and the masses and that sort of thing. This one should be fairly easy, and we just did the cause and effect. Okay. And then I just talk about a few. You need to know where the ozone layer is for sure. There's several. I mean, you need to know all of this. I just picked out a few things. What is the dew point? What does it tell us? It's the temperature which air must be cooled to become saturated with water vapor. Okay, and when that increases, there's more moisture in the air. If warm air and cold air collide, which will rise? Oh, I didn't even finish writing. That is warm air because it is less dense. Okay, and so there you go. Why does warm air rise? Density. Okay. Why does cold air sink? Density. What creates wind? Air pressure differences. And then we talked about humidity and the relative humidity chart. There's a video on that. Hopefully you completed that assignment. What is a jet stream? The jet stream is a fast warm air mass that meets a cold air mass in the atmosphere. And there's about 4 main jet streams, okay? Don't worry about going any further with that with jet streams, okay? I thought this was important to talk about the 2 types of air pressure systems. If it is a high pressure, you're going to have cool, dry, fair, light winds. If it's a low pressure, you're going to have warm and moist air and stormy and very strong winds. That is very important to know for sure. I'm not going to ask you about many of these weather instruments, just a few, and I'll tell you about those in just a minute, okay? I thought, go ahead and tell you, ignore that, that the majority of thunderstorms occur in the southeast. Mainly Florida gets most of the thunderstorms. The safest place to be, inside, safe, or in a car. We know we've had tornado drills. I shouldn't have to talk about that. But where do these cyclone type storms get their energy? It's evaporation of water from the ocean's surface. That's why they form over water. And what causes them to lose strength? When they hit land, they get cooler temperatures and they don't have as much moisture as they had over the water. And so they start to slow down. And you see that if you follow hurricanes on the news. Okay, and again, all of those are important. I just picked out a few. Okay, number 1, how does a cold front form? Cold air advances, forcing warm air to rise. How are hurricanes and tornadoes related to air masses? They form where air masses meet. Where would the highest amounts of acid rain most likely be found? That's obviously going to be in urban city areas. Which storm most likely develops as air masses interact with the warm water in the northeast Pacific Ocean? That would be a typhoon, okay? Describe the ozone layer. It's O3. It helps reduce the amount of ultraviolet radiation reaching the surface of the Earth, okay? And you need to know where it's at, what layers of the atmosphere it's at. Our atmosphere is mostly made up of nitrogen and then oxygen and a little bit of argon. Why do planes fly in the stratosphere, the second lowest layer of the atmosphere? To avoid storms and other weather events. Okay, and again, if you have any questions about these, so I'm going through them pretty fast. If you have any questions, you just have to let me know. Which is a major source of air pollution? Actually, farms raising large numbers of animals such as cows and pigs. Okay. And you should have learned a little bit about that in biology as well. They release a lot of methane coming from there. Number 9, what has the greatest influence on wind speed? The differences in the density of the adjacent air masses. And adjacent just means what is neighboring or touching them. What's most often a result of warm air mass moving over a cooler air mass? An increase in precipitation. Temperature increases as altitude increases in both the stratosphere and the thermosphere. What's the main difference between the two layers? So the temperature increases in the stratosphere because the ozone absorbs the UV radiation, and in the thermosphere because of direct exposure to the sun. Okay? All right, this one is a weird picture, I know, okay? But what it's showing you, which diagram shows how air masses move in the troposphere. Okay, so our air masses for us normally move from west to east, and that's what pretty much all of these are showing. The arrows are moving from west to east. But what you needed to know is that we move from high pressure in the west to low pressures in the east, and that's how it moves across the U.S. And this was the only one that said high to low. Okay, and if you see, look at weather maps, you'll see that the H with a circle around it, L with a circle around it sometimes. All right, let's see, number 14, weather instruments. A and C basically say the same exact thing, okay? So a wind vane that would be on top of a barn maybe or something like that is going to give you wind direction. And the anemometer is going to give you the wind speed. And that's basically what this one said as well. They just flip-flopped them. Which organs and body systems are most susceptible to the effects of poor air quality? Obviously, that's going to be lungs in the respiratory system. And then here I just need you to review those air masses and review the weather fronts and be able to draw the examples, okay? And again, let me know if you have any questions about these, okay? You will see this on the test, so make sure you're able to label those and give the brief conditions and whether they form over water or land. So you need to know the maritime tropicals, the polar, all that stuff, okay? And then here you're going to have to identify some air fronts on the map and explain which direction these are going in, okay? And then identify a process that causes clouds to form in the moist air rising along the frontal boundaries of the low pressure system. Identify one process, okay? And then there's a mandatory bonus. Okay, all right, just let me know if you have any questions.